be world news. And this message is going to spread. And if it's to be expressed in a nutshell, it's young people of the world unite. Beyond, and you know, maybe when we have Wazimba as a legitimate tool which is recognized worldwide, then perhaps Tonee can come back, Sylvia can come back and say, please sir, madam, you know, please can we say something about what's happening? And maybe somebody will listen to them. Because as we said before, another clause is we don't listen to our young people. You know, we consider them a load of disposable rubbish, I think. And
Thank you.
Yes.
That's very nice. So we're supposed to be doing this.
We're young, yeah.
Yes.
Well, okay. Just talking about the tour in itself, how do we as a people, or the people who are watching, get involved?
Well,
because we know the basis of it, to travel around and to get common ground, talk, share ideas. People hearing you are thinking, oh, that's a very good idea. What's next?
Thank you. I think this, let me break down the tour. It's a 2-month tour, so it's actually 8 weeks long, and we're going to be driving through Kenya, then Uganda, then Rwanda and Burundi, then Tanzania, Malawi, down to Zambia, go around, fortunately, Zimbabwe, unfortunately, and then to Botswana, down to South Africa, and then climb back up through Mozambique, Tanzania again, and back to Kenya. And that's going to take us 8 weeks to do. And what we're trying to do is not only, yes, of course, we're trying to raise money because this is it's fantastically expensive, but then I think what we're trying to do is create a platform on which you decide what you can do. The whole idea of giving definitions to what good participation is what we do not want. Again, we're really counting on personal initiative. What can you do? If we're going to go for a trip from here to South Africa and back over a period of 2 months, where you have 7 young people in 2 cars, what can you think they would need? Very many organizations have been very, very kind enough to give us health, for example. Resolution Health has covered us in terms of our health insurance and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And then we're getting also
Resolution Health. Where's the list? Patrick Obash.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
So, but
Thank you.
But still, with that, it's covered not so much as 25% of what we're trying to raise. And so, if people are willing to give us in kind, or are willing to give us support financially, or willing to just write something for us, put something on our blog, put something on our website, send us SMSs. You know, we're going to be away from home for 2 months. It's obviously going to be a very hard thing to meet 25,000 young people in all these countries. So it's definitely something we're hoping to be able to do, but not only as the 7 young people. We're trying to make it a movement of Kenyans, trying to improve the image of the country, not only around their neighbors, but internationally. What happened in January, I believe we were all responsible for in some way, form, or manner. And through this trip, we're trying to get our parents involved. We're trying to get our cousins, our neighbors, our friends, both black, white, Asian as well. We're trying to get everybody to feel that these are young people that I can represent with. And they're not just responsible for creating an image for Kenya as Wazimba out there, but I'm responsible for sustaining them, like we do when our athletes go out and run. You don't know an athlete when he's running. For example, we happened to meet Samuel Wanjiru in Nyahururu when we went 2 weeks ago. And when we were speaking to him, he was such a normal person. He was so the same as everybody else. But when he was running that race, he was closer to me than my family was, because he was what was my translation of patriotism. And we would like to create that on the road. We'd like to be able to be driving through Uganda, driving through Malawi, driving through Rwanda. But when people look at these 7 young people, they're literally looking at Kenya. This is them. Have you heard about? These are the ones. And we, in turn, want to be able to sell our country off as the place to be, as the place to be from. So not only does it do good for tourism, but it does good for young people and hopefully improves the images of the young people in the country.
Okay,
yes.
We're going to take a call. In studio, I have Tonee Ndungu and John Sibi Okumu from the Wazimba Foundation, Wazimba Youth Foundation.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Lucy.
Yes, Lucy.
Lucy Magunya.
Yes.
I'm a psychological counselor and I do come to the youth together.
All right.
Fantastic.
And I just watched those guys talking.
These 2 young men, yes?
Yeah, and they are doing a very good job.
Thank you, Lucy.
I want to encourage them to go on, because I believe that the youth have so much things which need to be done, and they should continue with their vision. That's all I could have told you.
Thank you, Lucy.
You are doing a great job.
Thank you for contributing, Lucy.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you very much.
Statements like that, as opposed to money, as opposed to donations.
Exactly.
Yes, like
that's what we need.
She's doing a better job than we are in many ways, because she is on the ground doing something with young people in Kibera. Lucy, congratulations, you are a fantastic person. And those are the kind of initiatives, you see, she did it out of her own personal motivation, her personal influence, and that's what we're trying to get young people to do.
The other thing, Musiko, to say is that we must put in the line that says that the commonplace, another commonplace, that travel broadens the mind. Yes. If we sit here in Kenya and these young people, the assumption is that whatever we do here is that we live in the best of all possible worlds. It bears going to Uganda and seeing how are Ugandans dealing with things like HIV/AIDS, how Ugandans dealing with teenage pregnancies, how are Ugandans trying to make people aware of the democratic process and making their young people prepared to go to the ballot box and vote. We cannot assume that what we're doing here is necessarily the best.
Yeah.
True.
And by sharing our ideas, our as in the group, we will learn something.
Yes.
And a lot of these young people are coming up with a passion. I don't know whether he will take it against me, but one of the young people here is a gentleman called Jerome Ondutu. Now, Jerome, he started off, if you read your papers carefully, there was a politician here called Alice Ondutu, is it Alice, who was shot outside her home.
In South
Alice
B.
in South B. Now, Alice happens to be the mother of Jerome. Now, here's a young man who, if somebody comes and takes a pot shot at your mum and kills her, you could spend your whole life with a tremendous degree of bitterness. But he is one of the moving forces within the Wazimba group. And he's saying, let me forget, let me heal, let me move on, and let me make sure that the kind of climate that led to this happening won't happen again.
That's true.
Again, an admirable impulse. It's not, let's get rich quick. They will need money to achieve what they're doing, but it's not a self-enriching enterprise.
Yeah. How then does personal experience ensure the strength of the group or the strength of lead as you travel? Because everybody has their own story, like you said.
Yes.
Do you share amongst yourselves and realize, okay, this is what I have to bring to the group?
That's the three words that build Wazimba. Wazimba is like a pillar. It's built on three words. And one word is exposure, the second word is experience, and the third word is exchange. And exposure basically means whatever it is you've learned in your life. The experiences that are looked down on by many people because of your age, we are bringing to the front. When you talk about exposure, what do you know that you can bring to the table? And then when we talk about experience, what have you done that you can bring to the table? And we talk about exchange, let us put each other in each other's shoes. Get into my shoes, let me get into yours, let me use your strengths to fill up the loopholes that I have in my system. And let me use my strengths to fill up the loopholes you have in your system. And the trip in itself is not the end. The trip is the beginning of a story. And one of the things we've done is we've all fundraised and bought a couple of little camcorders. And we've got one of the young people in the trip. He's called Leon Kabati. And Leon is a cameraman, a professional cameraman, and he's 25. And so he's joining us with his camera and his whole bag of tapes. And another young lady in the trip is called Sylvia, and she's a professional photographer, so very, very good. And she's coming with a camera as well. So we're trying to tell an African story from an African perspective. And at the end of this trip, we will come to Nation and sit down with you and ask you if you can put our documentary on television at no cost, because we are a non-profit organization. And ask John to talk to you about it on the side. But then, seriously, what we're trying to
suggest that they'll say no.
I haven't even said anything.
At no cost.
I haven't said
We said
anything.
at no cost. You didn't like that.
Okay, we're running out of time, but as we wind up,
Mm-hmm.
you said the youth are not listened to, yeah? And this is an initiative that is bound to help. It's bound to create an avenue where people can discuss, and great things can come out of it.
Yes.
Fine, you're documenting it in fantastic ways with technology,
Yes.
What will make us listen? Or what will make people say, okay, that's different, I like that, I understand that. You may have the DVD, you may have the documentary, so what?
I think, again, we can have different takes on that. It's the wisdom of the ancients is we're doing what we're doing. The response will be self-generating. We're not, or in all these things that we're doing, if you pick up, if I pick up today's Standard or Nation and read the front headlines, I respond to what I read in different ways. And there are bits of news where I'll walk across to my wife and say, have you read this? And it could be on page 23. but it has some kind of resonance in our particular situation. So we are not setting out by this particular process, by this project, to change the world entirely and have the message that's going to obviate any other message that's gone through.
That is true.
But we're going to put, you know, the old Gandhi-esque quote about the sea is very salty. Old Gandhi said, he said lots of things. The sea is very, very salty. But if you could imagine to put in a teaspoonful of sugar, you make it less so. Kwisha.
This is a teaspoonful of sugar.